What's going on, interwebs? Oh, just out here on a beautiful 98, 99 degree day. Longhorns, what's up, you crazy blue scramble on a closed road? Holy the old MT-07 as I've been calling it. The more I ride it, the more I start to think, you know, I start to ponder with my Thanos chin here, should Yamaha build one of these? We always built this thing with the idea of like, oh, Yamaha's taking too long to come out with that Tanneray 700. I'll just have to build my own. Haha, well, that's what we did. So we threw the wheels on it, this and that, all the whole build series stuff, and got this. The whole thinking was, the bike's not actually going to be any better than a Tanneray 700, but then something else kind of happened. It actually turned out to be pretty good. It's fun, it's more nimble than I would think it would be. It actually off-roads much better than I thought it could. Still not as easy to turn around as a little dual sport. It's a lot easier than a giant adventure bike. Out on the big open trails, it's like a little gazelle. It's fun, it rips. There's plenty of things that a giant adventure bike does better than this. There's also plenty of things that they don't. And that became quite apparent to me on the Oklahoma trip. Two big elements that have to do with that is the fact that, well, I haven't reweighed it since doing all the mods. There's no doubt this thing is lighter than an actual Tanneray 700, and most other adventure bikes for that matter. The weight that it does have, I think, sits a good bit lower in the bike. The big fat tires mean you don't really get stuck too often. The bike will sort of carry itself through just about any scenario. It even manages to stay pretty cool. We're running at 183 right now. So if my goal was to build an adventure bike, in some senses I have failed. It's not an adventure bike. I feel like what I've created realistically is a modern scrambler. That's right, I said it. Eat your heart out, heritage classic bikes that call yourself scramblers. This is a modern scrambler. It's not trying to look like some old school thing. We're bringing back the term. Me and Matt were able to take our FZs through the roughest bits. And there's plenty of times where Chris, who's realistically a better rider, was definitely struggling on that big old Africa Twin. And honestly, a bike like this could make sense for a lot of people out there who are looking at getting a Tanneray 700. And the industry always loves to show you videos with pro riders on these things, and I don't blame them. It's what you do for these kind of ads. They do things on those bikes that I don't think I could ever do on a trials bike. And not to brag, I think I'm a little better than the average rider, not by a lot. But one thing you notice in those videos, are they ever carrying luggage? No. Those bikes were trailered in there, ridden hard right then, and then left. Pretty stupid to buy a full-on adventure bike for that purpose. Just get a dirt bike, get a dual sport. You know what's nice? Having a 200-pound lighter machine. The truth is, this bike has pretty much all the same road capabilities of a Tanneray 700. You could put a small windscreen on the front. This bike would work for most people. This would be better. You would save weight. It would be easier. Squatty little fat tires on it are crazy fun, drifting around, sliding. It's out of situations. There's so many reasons this makes more sense for so many people out there. You may be wondering then, why do I always tell people not to build one of these, just buy a Tanneray 700? The reality is, this is just an expensive bike to build. A lot of the parts aren't just readily available. Now, if Yamaha were to build a bike like this from the factory and sell it for somewhere between the price of a Tanneray and an MT-07, that would be interesting. That would be something to consider. And it's totally possible. Most of the parts that they would need have already been developed. The core of this bike would just need to be an MT-07, okay? Maybe use a swing arm from the Tracer 700 instead because it's a pinch longer. This bike's got like I think 5.1 inches of travel, and Tanneray's got like 7, I think, inches. Cut it down the middle. 6 inches of travel would be good. Woo! You may want to gear it down a tooth like this one is. Keep the big 180 in the rear. Up front though, switch it to a 19. Maybe go ahead and switch it over to inverted forks. Already developed part that could do this is the forks off a Tanneray 1200. In fact, the whole front end. It's actually something I've been looking into. Be a good thing ultimately. You get a tubeless front wheel out of that setup too, which is pretty cool. If you really want to sell a bunch of them Yamaha, you got to put a high fender on it. It just looks cooler. It's going to need a real skid plate just like this one has, not just something bolted to the underside of the motor. This thing sits about 1 inch lower than about an actual Tanneray 700 is. I think you want to keep it up pretty tall. Taller bars, some kind of LED light. Get the dash off of here. This has always been a silly thing they do on this bike. I have some kind of flatter seat. Mostly the stuff I've done to this bike. I can see Yamaha saying they wouldn't want to do something like that because it would be competition for their own Tanneray 700, but I don't know, man. I feel like you might even sell more of these than you would a Tanneray. What do y'all think, though? Like, don't you think that would be a sick bike if you could buy this factory? Who would buy this over a Tanneray 700? I think what Yamaha should do is build a concept version and just put it out there. Take it to the shows, let the magazines take the pictures, the whatevers, you know, and just see what people say about it. Someone at Yamaha, though, if someone worked there, show them this video. I don't have any connections at Yamaha. I'm trying to make y'all money here. Trying to come up with ideas. Maybe like an MT-07 or something. Scrambler, I don't know. Somebody help me. What's a good name? A lot of people have joined Patreon lately, and I really do thank you for doing that because that does help support this channel. These videos always come out earlier, uncensored, ad-free, extended, all the good stuff over on Patreon. Go check it out. $1 a month you can pay if you want to join it for like the lowest rate. It won't offend me. It's better than I would ever get off you watching all my videos for a year on YouTube. So it keeps this thing going. So those of you out there who have joined it, thank you. Hey, you get to hang out with me on old Discord. Did that sheriff come out behind me? I don't think he did. My tag is like 2 years expired.